Hey yo, welcome back to the channel guys. Today I have another ranking video. I'm gonna be ranking the Otsutsuki clan. In this video I'm gonna be making some bold claims like the usual. And as usual, if you disagree, you can easily debate it in my server. Make sure to go join that. The link for it is in the description, or you can simply write discord.gg/sage, and that's gonna be an instant invite to my server. Also, I just got membership. Go check that out. It should be on your right, if I'm not mistaken. It should say join. Go check that out. Got some perks in there. One of the perks is my personal Naruto scan server that you guys always see in my videos. You guys go check that out. But back to the main point of this video, which is the Otsutsuki clan. I'm gonna be ranking them. Obviously, I'm only gonna be going by all of the canon. I'm not gonna be using any of the filler. And with all that, let's get started. To be honest, right off the bat, Indra and Ashura, they're going D class. They have like literally no scaling. If you want to go by canon, like they just scale to each other. To be honest, like they really got nothing to do. You know what I'm saying? They really got nothing. Uh, I don't really think you can really make the claim that they even surpassed Hagoromo if we're going by canon only. So like they really just go at D. They really have no scaling at all. To be quite frank. Uh, so I do think Hagoromo would just be above that. I know that placement, a lot of people wouldn't disagree with that. It's just like Hagoromo personally really isn't that impressive when you want to use like inverse scaling. If you want to use crossverse scaling, then you can wank him to like wherever you want him to be. But realistically, he's really just not the strongest. Blatantly, Kaguya's just blatantly stated to be stronger than him when he's in his ghost form. Also when he's like in his regular form when he was in the past. Both times he states himself that Kaguya was stronger. It's pretty blatant. Uh, Only version of him you can say may be stronger is when he absorbs the Ten Tails, but we have no evidence to say that with that amp he would just naturally scale above Kaguya by himself. So by default he kind of just scales below. You can't really get him above Kaguya by default. It's like natively implied that Hamura is supposed to be on the same level as him. So they're both going C. Can't really say anything about that. This one's going to be very interesting. I know some people are going to disagree with it, but yes, I'm going to put Toneri above Kaguya. Though it is stated that Toneri is the strongest villain they ever faced. That's stated in the Sokyo Jump, which has a bunch of canon stuff. It's basically okayed by the author, Akio Kishimoto. If it wasn't okay, they would most likely get sued for putting those stuff in there. But main point, it's stated that at the time where the Naruto, the last movie, was coming out, which is obviously based on the novel, that Toneri was the strongest opponent they would ever face. Therefore, would be including Kaguya. Therefore, he would just be stronger than Kaguya, which is pretty cool to be honest, because I think Naruto doing that two-year time skip is very impressive. He goes from being relative to Kaguya to just completely scaling above Kaguya at this point based on that statement. And you can argue that Naruto was using Bijou mode, or you can also argue that he was in Sixth Path mode. But like, if you want to argue he was specifically in his Bijou mode, then we just know there was a huge amp difference coming like between that 2-year time skip. As we know, he would have all the Nine Tails at that point. He probably went through a bunch of training, either using Alkin's Raisin, which is going by the most illogical assumption. Yeah, so like, low key, Toneri is low key underrated. I definitely put him above Kaguya. Momoshiki is implied, and Kanishiki are both implied. And if I want to use anime canon, Oshiki is also implied as to be above Kaguya. By that statement, she was afraid of our existence, therefore implying that she was afraid of each one of them. So it is implied that like she's supposed to scale, that all 4 of these characters are supposed to scale above Kaguya. I know a lot of people don't like Oshiki and would disagree with that, based off like him so-called showing relativity to kids, aka Boruto, Shinki. One thing a lot of people tend to miss during those scenes, it's very in character for Oshiki to like be playing around just like Madara. So realistically, Naruto, Boruto, Shinki, they just don't scale the Oshiki at all. For example, he goes from playing around, as I said before, with Shinki to completely outspeeding Gaara's Sand. And I would also like to remind you that Gaara's Sand is fast enough to catch, fuse Momoshiki, yet a base Oshiki was outspeeding it. And like that's still like Oishiki somewhat joking around, and he wasn't even being serious, to be honest. And now it's in his base, like I said before. Obviously, a fused Oishiki would just scale above that. Uh, and even if you want to go by fused version of them, when he's what's it called? I rewatched the episode really recently when he versus Sasuke, Jiraiya, Naruto, and Boruto. Even in that fight, he was basically playing around. He wasn't really being serious. Like he even blitzes Naruto like 2 or 3 times. Same thing with Boruto. Same thing with Jiraiya. And like when it comes down to Sasuke, he's able to react to Sasuke's Amaterasu EMS. So like it's very kind of obvious that like Oishiki is one of those characters that don't use their full strength right off the bat. He's basically like a Otsutsuki version of Madara, to be blunt. So I do believe he should be up there. And like I said before, he was outspeeding Garo-san, something Garo-san is able to react to fuse Momo. And there is another statement specifically for Oishiki stating that he is the strongest Otsutsuki member. And with all that knowledge to the side now, if you want to push that to the side, then you can say that statement is cap. But if you want to require all that, and like I said before, he was outspeeding Garo-san, and Garo-san is able to react to fuse Momo, then that statement is basically valid to say that he's the strongest Tuski clan member. Uh, Only person that would really scale both would be Jigen or Ishiki, however you want to say his name, however which version you want to talk about. Me personally, I do think both versions would be counted as a Tuski, but you know, basically Tuski verbatim the scale is above everyone here. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Like I said before, Kanishiki is implied to scale above just based off the statements from Sasuke. Same thing with Momoshiki, implied to scale above. Toneri, just flat out stated to be above. It's that really simple. If you guys want like a specific number I put for all of them, let's call it 10, 9, 10, yeah, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, to be honest. Toneri actually has really weird scaling when you actually learn a bunch of statements from like the Boruto era, and then you take statements from like that. All you can actually make arguments for like Toneri over Momo, and if that's possible, you can also make arguments for him over Kanishiki. I don't really think there's really a way for you to scale Toneri above Oishiki, to be honest. Even if you want to give him the Tentagon, because Oishiki did beat him without the Tentagon, but that's obviously a huge nerf. If you want to give him his Tentagon, it'd be more like headcanon to say that he would win. Even when it comes down to hacks, Oishiki's, in my opinion, just blatantly better when it comes to hacks, especially with the blue Renegon, able just to see a few more seconds in the future and come back. It's kind of broken. So Toneri versus Oishiki, that's debatable, but most likely giving that to Oishiki. Yeah, as I said before, I think Oishiki would be above these two. That's my opinion. If you disagree with me, we can clearly debate on it. I can also make arguments for Toneri over Momo. So I do think Toneri is 100% over Kanishiki though. So I'm gonna leave it at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Interchangeable, 4, 3, interchangeable. Put this at 2, and I'll leave Ishiki / Jigen at 1. And like I said before, if you disagree with anything I said, we can obviously debate it. You can click the link in the description to join my server, or you can easily write disco.gg/sage, and you can just ping me in chat. We can go on in the VC. I can record it, get a quick feature on my YT. We can debate it. And yeah, that's basically my ranking. That's my reasoning for everything. That's pretty much it. Very interesting. I know a lot of people downplay the hell out of Toneri. Actually, let me speak on this one more time before I leave. One thing a lot of people like to say is that Toneri gets downplayed because he loses against so-called base Naruto. But what happens is Naruto puts all of his power into his arm, and this is like even implied in the novel version, which would be like the original because the movie is based off the novel. And it's literally stated that he used all of his might. In other words, he was pretty much on par with Toneri, but to actually scale above Toneri in forms of AP, I guess you can say, he literally had to amp himself. So I guess you can say that's compliment when it comes to Toneri's AP, which is something that I feel like a lot of people downplay. It's just like there's a reason why he actually had to put all that power into his arm. He literally needed to amp himself just to somewhat scale above Toneri when it comes to AP. So even that, I don't think anyone should necessarily downplay Toneri. Toneri has mad good statements and really wonky scaling, because you can do some pretty wicked scaling. But yeah, I think Toneri is a valid nibble, no cap. I definitely think he scales above everyone here. He definitely scales above Kanishiki. Momoshiki is very debatable. Orishiki, I don't think so. And then he definitely doesn't scale the Jigen, the Orishiki. But yeah, that's my scaling, or my ranking, I should say. If you disagree with anything, like I said before, we can easily debate it. Link in the description. With all that to the side, that'll be it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.